Hello everybody, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be looking at the San Francisco Supercross. I got that wrong last week. I called it San Diego. I just kept calling it San Diego. Whatever. San Francisco was obviously a mudder, but I'm hoping to make this kind of a weekly thing of a preview and review show. Or not even show, just a little video. It's like it's barely even anything. And see if we can kind of revive the channel here. See if we can find anyone. The gameplay you guys see in the back is MX bikes. It's tried to write it kind of like you would in real life if you were in those conditions, which we saw the boys not in quite those nice of conditions, believe it or not. They saw a extreme mudder this week. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I guess just hop right into it. Plus, if you guys do like the game or whatever in the background, go ahead and down to the lower links in the description. You can find the link to my channel that I actually play this game, and we're nearing 5,000 subscribers over there. So if you guys want to, go check that out, it'd be nice. We'll start with the premier class, as I think that was probably the best way to do it. A lot of people are here to do that. But first things first, it's a mudder. Nothing matters. Everyone's going to say that, obviously no result matters when it's a mudder. I'm going to be honest, a lot of people are wrong when it comes to that in some case scenario, because I know I've never lined up on a gate, or I've never lined up on one of those gates. So I have, what do I know, right? But numbers, statistics, and just history in general can tell you that a good finish is a good finish, and confidence is key in this sport. We've seen so many swings of just confidence from multiple people. It's kind of crazy when you look at it. Like when you saw Jason Anderson finish off the season well, and then I saw he made the team switch. Not saying I knew he was going to be as good as he was back in 2022, I believe it was, but I did think he was going to be top 4 in points. I made a bet with a family member saying I was pretty heavily favored. I was going to say Jason Anderson finishes top 3 in the class, and they said, hey, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt or whatever. And it said, what about top 4? And I was like, okay. And yeah, I was just confident. He finished off the season well, made the team switch, and then obviously there's some new spark there after finishing on a high note. That happens. So Eli Tomac, now this is a little bit in a worse case here, or not worst case, but it's probably not as effective on a guy like Eli, where he gets a second in a mudder and he knows it doesn't really mean a whole lot, but it is nice to see him back up towards the front, finishing up front when it matters, the Eli Tomac way. So of course that brings some belief back into the case here for Eli. So it is nice to see him back up there, and hopefully he can start finishing and clicking off some podiums. And then we're going to talk about a guy like AC, where he starts off in 4th place in the opener, and then he comes out and just to stack 2 top 5 finishes in a row to start a season is absolutely tremendous for Aaron Plessinger. I mean, you look at Ken Roxon's the other guy. Shane McElrath snags a top 4 finish in 4th. Like, there's the guys up here that there's massive points in implications and swings. Cooper Webb's way down. Jet Lawrence obviously loses his first premier class race if you take out the Super Motocross playoffs, which is nuts. You can really just look at the points, and it's a lot different through the first 2 rounds than maybe you thought, and especially heading out of Anaheim, there's been a little bit of a major switch up. Not even like, I wouldn't say major, because you can lose the championship this early, and I think Malcolm Stewart has been put in a very bad situation so far. So hopefully he can rebuttal and stack points as the season goes on. I don't see him winning a Supercross title. I know it's just 2 rounds. I don't think he even finishes top 3 in points, let alone 5. So we'll see. We'll have to see where Malcolm pretty much stacks up the rest of the year. Maybe a rebuilding year, signs a new contract, and or retires. He's getting old, and I think people are starting to kind of forget that. But there is a lot to talk about with a lot of these guys, and unfortunately, I'm not going to get to all of them. It's kind of something I want to kind of take right off the top is confidence is huge in our sport, and I don't think a lot of people really count on that. So we'll look for some of these good finishes to carry over as the season goes on. And another name that kind of falls into this category is Dylan Ferrandis, who's building momentum on that Phoenix Honda early. He said, no factory ride, no problem. He's going out, and he said he says he's wanted to ride a Honda for like the last 2 years. Finally getting on that bike, and wow, he is meshing well with it, better than I thought he would, honestly. And he's come out and shown well. I know it's just been one dry race, but he actually did really well. And the Mudder, he stuck through it, did actually a pretty good job beating off a North Carolina. I think maybe north, it could also be south for Cooper Webb. So you think of that background in the mud, and sure, French is nice and technical, like normally you see the Marvin Muskins of the world and whatever, and just the Frenchman in the class, and it's pretty precise riding. It's not a whole lot of I wouldn't say speed, because they obviously have speed, but you just think of technicalities and technical riders when you think of French. Kenny finishing up on the podium is absolutely huge for him. I think that he had a lot more to offer than you know, what he got there in A1, what he finally, you know, finished with. The result was way better, or was way worse than the riding was. Ken Roczen was a man on a mission, maximized Anaheim 1 for himself, trying to get back into this points race, and then this podium really helps in a Mudder where he actually looked like he would run away with it. He went out front, pulled whole shot, and actually stalled on the first tabletop. Sexton gets right past him, and Sexton, man, what a jump off the line he had. Still so fun to watch, because you don't see stuff like that, and he credited it to dumb luck, which I believe. You know, he says he could have seen it flinch or whatever, and he just chose to go because it's a mud race. You know, like you can take that chance. I don't know, obviously it is, along with skill, dumb luck, a little bit of everything there for Chase Sexton to pull off that start. And then unfortunately had like a wobble at the first corner or whatever. Then Kenny ends up, you know, coming around and looks like he's going to be out front, and then stalls the bike, has to kick it on the first tabletop, which was not tragic for him, but it was a nice little heart-stopping moment to get him rejuvenated for the rest of the race. Heat race win and 7th place finish in the main event for Jorge Prado, or as I like to call him, George. You see a guy's name, J-O-R-G-E. You're not gonna call him George. I know, like, oh, you're just married. I'm not even like obviously it's Jorge. I know that. All right, it's Jorge Prado. Everyone knows that. Spain. I get it, but George, you can't. Like, dude, when you see a Jorge Prado going through a rhythm section and make a pass, say, on just someone big, all right? Say he goes up and just straight up passes Eli Tomac. You're like, oh, that's George. It's just more funny that way. Let me have my humor, and George will forever live on in my mind as George. It's no longer Jorge for me. So if anyone's going to refer to Jorge in the comments, I'm going to read it as George. So just to let you guys know that is a quick little thing happening for me. But yeah, Jorge, George, great showing for him, and I thought he'd actually do a little bit better in the main, but a little unlucky as well, or I guess luck goes into it, and didn't get to his side, but is what it is. I think this is a huge step forward for Jorge, and confidence heading into round number 3, despite, you know, once again, it being a Mudder. I don't think these guys care. They'll take it where they can get it. A good finish is a good finish, and it means a lot in this class, so you're gonna take it, and you're gonna, you know, feel a little bit more capable. Maybe you belong up there, whatever it is. Confidence is kind of the big, they fall under all that. Like, there's a tree, the confidence tree. You can go on about saying like, oh, you feel like you belong, okay, that's more confidence. You know, they kind of all fall under the confidence tree when I say all these things about riders once they get that good finish. And it's a huge step in the right direction for Jorge, and I feel like he knows that. And I think it's only getting more likely that Jorge is over here full-time come 2025 or 2026. I don't think that he'll be here this year, obviously, going back over to Europe to defend his championship over there, the #1 on the gas. So we'll have to see what Jorge has in store for the last round that he will be racing in round 3 coming up this weekend. And other than that, I guess we can move on to, I'll look at the board here. It is Jet, or yeah, okay, so Jet's 9th. We'll talk about that. We can move on from old George and go to Jet, where off night for him. He's not a Mudder. He's not a Mudder trucker. You know how guys truck through the mud? Mudder truckers, all right? Jet is not a Mudder trucker. He doesn't get through the mud real well. I don't think. And bike issues, possibly bad start. A lot can play into a bad mud race. All right, once you're out front, it's a whole different game. Whole set of advantages that you have, and also it is the longest race of your life. Ask Chase Sexton, ask anyone who's led a lot of a mud race. They've all said the same thing ever. There's that. But Jet Lawrence had his work cut out for him once, you know, he was obviously off that start, and then ended up actually getting lapped. So what a way to lose. And it was by Chase Sexton. They had a little rub, like Sexton was coming through kind of awkwardly in the same line. Jet really couldn't do much. Chase really couldn't do much. So just going to try to look for that earliest opening to get past Jet as you're trying to lap him if you're Chase. And he found a window. It wasn't too intrusive. And I think as far as how bad it could have been, it was neutrally fine. Like, there's not a whole lot you can do there for either of those guys. I was really cheering on Sexton. Nice to see him get a win on the new manufacturer, and him actually saying he was hoping for a dry race is huge. I do believe he does have the bike in a better spot than he did at A1, so I'm very excited to see what that looks like in round 3 against guys like Eli Tomac, who's coming off a second, against Jet on another dry track. And obviously he's always someone that you want to see where, you know, people stack up to. And then a consistent AP who seems to get along with the new Red Bull KTM as well. So I don't really know where we'll have Sexton after the first 5 rounds, but hopefully he's in a good spot, and hopefully he's putting himself in the points race while he's still trying to dial in that bike. Then you had in 10th, 11th, and 12th, it was actually Hunter, Cooper, and Jason Anderson, and then it was Derek Drake, then Christian Craig, and then Malcolm Stewart with the DNF, or no, he was actually 8 laps down. Okay, no DNF there. In 22nd. So unfortunate for Mookie, and like I said, it's totally unfortunate, and it seems like he can't really catch a break right now. His teammate Christian Craig just survived the night, and I think he can honestly put out a impressive finish once or twice this season, and that'll really either get him going or realize, like, okay, if I'm, you know, just in every one of 17 rounds, maybe that's it, or whatever his contract looks like. I don't it's hard to gauge on Christian Craig right now. I'm really pulling for him. I love the dude, love his the way he is. Family man, obviously. He's got a nice family over there. They got a channel on YouTube as well. They seem like genuine nice people as well, so that's pretty cool. And you always root for guys like that, right? So Christian Craig, you're obviously hoping for the best, but you're bracing for the worst. This guy has been through it, and honestly, it wouldn't be a disappointing career if he called it after even this season. I don't see a guy like Christian Craig doing that. He looks like he's got a few more years in him, and he said it a few times this offseason that he says he feels like he can get going. Obviously, he was getting into podcasting, and I think it was Alden. This is speculation. I'm not 100% on this, so don't just go after Alden or think or spread this word. But I think it was someone that told him to take it a little bit more serious and not podcast. So Christian Craig obviously has, you know, passions elsewhere, and his mind might, you know, travel off and want to do a podcast, and that might actually help his riding. Doesn't really have the freedom to do, which is kind of unfortunate for him, honestly and obviously. And who knows, maybe he picks up a Phoenix Honda next year if whatever his contract looks like. So very, very tough right now for him, and you got to feel for the Husky boys. Jason and Coop, it was just not their nights. Cooper Webb and Jason Anderson both struggled. I think they both fell off the start, or it could have just been Jason and Mookie who had the worst of that. Barsha had a sketchy start. Chase had a very sketchy start. Eli was the only one that looked kind of put together other than Kenny, but like I said, Kenny kind of stalled it there. So I didn't really hit on Eli. I don't think there is a whole lot. I think he's just ready to move on, and hopefully he stacks up well against these guys, because he was in a very bad spot in Anaheim 1. He does not like being in that spot, so it's kind of down to you know, how everybody else is you know, going around him, and I guess how everything else is going around Eli Tomac, and how he adapts to that is really going to be our gauge on Eli Tomac. So not a whole lot to hit on there. Major players in this championship like Cooper Webb and Jason Anderson getting you know, 12th and 13th finishes, or sorry, 11th and 12th finishes, 12th place finishes. It's obviously not a good spot to put yourself in the second round, but you did survive the mudder, and that's all you're looking to do. It's survival mode. I heard it from a lot of guys in a lot of interviews in a lot of different ways. They just said, hey, we got to survive tonight, and I think that's the right mindset. but you also have to be thinking and kicking yourself that you didn't do better to put yourself in a better spot. But I mean, I could see a guy like Jason Anderson genuinely being happy, but with what Coop showed at A1, I'm sure he's not thrilled he's this far down in points now. And same could be said about Jason Anderson. I just don't really know where his head is. And then if you're Justin Barsha, who's finishing 17th, came in ill once again, just another guy that he ended up actually scoring points as well, so that's, I guess, okay for him. And same with Hunter Lawrence, ended up just coming in and, you know, putting up points, and his first top 10 finish he's had in the premier class. So I will see how these guys move forward. Not a whole lot to talk about or comment on right now about them, so we'll move to the 250 class. Huge disappointments and huge upsets here in the 250 class. Jordan Smith, Levi Kitchen, obviously the top two former teammates, and then Garrett Marchbanks finishes third on the Muck-Off FXR, not Honda, the Yamaha. Starting to sound like Ricky Carmichael getting the brands wrong when he's talking about gas, I believe. That was a fun situation for Ricky to be in. It was nice to see Filthy Phil up there in podium contention until his teammate Garrett ripped it away from him. So Phil Nicoletti in the 4th place now in the points, and then Carson Mumford, nice 5th place finish. I can see him getting a couple of top 5s this year in Supercross, really putting together a strong case. I mean, he had a good season last year as a fill-in rider, and I really wish he kept that pro circuit deal or was able to. Very unfortunate for the kid out of California. I don't know. I'm not going to say he hasn't gotten a fair shot, because obviously he has, but I think he's got a lot of talent, and obviously a lot more to come in the sport. Hopefully he doesn't hang it up anytime soon. Hopefully some bad results don't hinder his career or anything, and he can continue to just kind of ride the wave that's happening right now, and, you know, look at all the positives come out of it, and really work on himself, riding everything. We would just need to see Carson Mumford punch his ticket into a certified privateer. We're seeing guys like up there like Mitchell Oldenburg kind of rings that bell. You know what I'm talking about? Where, yeah, he's been in the class a while. Yeah, he's quite fast. Is he ever going to win a race again? Probably not. I'm sure he has at least one to his name. Maybe not a race winner anymore. Surprise podium here and there. If enough things go right, yeah. Top 5, I could see that it's a little bit more, but constantly in the top 10, Mitchell Oldenburg, a guy that really stands out in that, and, you know, even higher actually. So Oldenburg kind of reminds me of what Carson Mumford like could be, or I want Mumford to be at least, and I think Carson Mumford could be that easily. So we'll have to see what his career has moving forward. The points leader RJ Hampshire, disappointing finish in 9th place, leaving the red plate to Jordo, and Levi Kitchen punches his ticket into the championship race after a rough first going. I know it didn't look that bad result wise. I've never seen him ride like that. It had me really scared, and I don't want to see the next time he's leading a race, especially on a dry race. That could be bad for not everyone. Honestly, I think that few people could benefit from him, like the guys in 3rd and 2nd waiting to pounce on him, because he tightened up very quick, and who knows, we'll have to see. I mean, he came through the pack in this mudder, so I guess I think Levi is a mudder trucker. I think he can truck through the mud, so I think we'll call him a mudder trucker. Jordan Smith, obviously a mudder trucker, but he slowed the pace down, backed it down a little bit. Another North Carolina guy, if I'm not mistaken. Then you get your bone crushers like down in 11th, Julian Beaumaire. After such a strong showing at A1, you really rooting for the kid. Jet ski world champion, by the way. I think they said like 8 or 6 time champion. Like this guy on a jet ski is insane, but said, hey, I have to hop off jet skis and get on dirt bikes because jet skis have too much power. So shows the courage and just straight up manhood Julian Beaumaire has, or Juju has. So a lot in store for him, and can't wait for the next dry race to see where he stacks up against some of these guys, especially speed wise. I'm hoping to see that 1 lap qualifying heat race wins. You know, Beaumaire is definitely someone that I could see doing that. Now a whole main event might be a little tough on him. He's a little inexperienced, especially around the whoops, and so we'll see where the track layout stands next week, and we'll have to see, you know, what Julian Beaumaire actually looks like come round 3. If he looks any half as good as he did at Anaheim 1, I think he'll be more than okay, to say the least. And then you had some heartbreakers like Nate Thrasher, Maximus Volan, Joe Shimoda, like all of them just absolute crushed for him. I can't even So Joe Shimoda, one of my favorite riders, Max Volan, one of my favorite riders, Nate Thrasher, who I predicted correctly heading into last year. I was kind of rooting for the guy, obviously, for my prediction to be right, and then rider D Francesco, who actually was a MUDDER trucker in the heat race, dusting everyone by miles. Kid out of Bakersfield, I think he's a Bakersfield boys. I think him and another guy, I can't remember who it was, but either way, it was a lot of disappointments and bikes blowing up. I don't like talking about it, but Max pretty much out. Joe Shimoda in a really deep hole, and he's really gonna just have to win out, because these 250 rounds, obviously something bizarre is gonna have to happen with guys like Jordo and RJ. Obviously things can change. A guy like Levi Kitchen, I don't think he's crashing out of any races. I don't think that there is a whole lot to go around other than misfortune to these guys that would help Joe Shimoda. I don't think he can really just win out. I don't think that he's in that spot right now. So he needs to stack good results, and also needs a lot to go his way for the rest of this championship. And mind you, it is 250, so as half as many rounds as the 450 guys, along with some of those shootouts where we can see some of these better guys finishing outside of the top 5. So it's really tough to be in a hole this early. People talk about how you can lose the championship at the opener, and it's pretty much devastation here at San Francisco. Not ending these guys' championships. Obviously, they're still fighting. I don't expect anything less, especially from Max Voland, who I just want to see some flashes. I just want to see some strides here in year 1 with Pro Circuit. Hopefully in Motocross he shows up and shows out. I can even see him getting a moto win, which, wow, that sounds crazy. No, it doesn't. Wait till he comes around to Motocross season. I have him for a moto win at some point this moto season, of course, pending injury or anything else like that, and knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen. Hate to see a guy like Max go down. He's actually from around where I'm at, so I don't know. He seems like a nice guy, another nice guy too. So I mean, we've got a lot of great people in our sport, so not really a whole lot of bad people or anything like that. We don't have, oh, there's Vince Freeze. That guy, I don't like him at all, but that's my opinion. I know a lot of people think he's actually good for the sport. He's a villain. He didn't do anything wrong. I don't care. Like, you look at his track record, you'll find a bone to pick. It's not fun with Vince Freeze. I don't think he's good at all, and it really just shows up in his riding. It's not very fun to watch either. So you got to feel for guys like Nate Thrasher, Max Volan, Rider D, and Joe Shimoda. Rider D really didn't kick it off as good as some of these other guys, but Rider D definitely could have been a guy top 5 in the championship easily by the end of this thing, had he been meshing well with that gas. So I guess, not like we'll never know now. It just puts him in an even deeper rut, and you know, what if start to come into play in round like 3 or something, or not in round 3, but in, you know, future rounds, in 3 rounds or so, if he starts to show up, if he starts to do good with that heat race win, that confidence behind him, maybe find something with the bike and starts just getting and clicking off some podiums here and there. A lot can happen. A lot of what ifs can go on over the course of a season. I think San Francisco has been a dream crusher for some of these guys, and it's very unfortunate to see. That is also racing, and you know, things go wrong. So that'll be all for me. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed, go ahead and like, go down, subscribe, go watch any of the past content on the channel, go watch any of my other channels. That'd be greatly appreciated. And that'll be all once again for me, and thank you guys for watching, especially if you watched all the way to now. It means a whole lot. That'll be all for me again. Doses.